Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matil Islami wa kafa biha ni'ma. All praise and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his blessing of Islam which suffices as a blessing. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. I'd like to welcome you all on the 27th session. We are at para 14, and today inshallah we're going to begin with Surah Hijr and then also do part of Surah Nahl. Hijr means a rock, and this is a Makkan surah. It's got a theme which is very similar to what we saw in Surah Ibrahim. So it's going to be a lot about faith building and asking questions. These questions we need to ask ourselves also. So let's just begin with the first ayah of Surah Hijr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Alif Lam Ra. Tilka ayatul kitab wa Qur'anil Mubin. Alif Lam Ra, Huruf Muqattat. These are the verses of the book and an enlightened Quran. So Quran is introducing itself as a unique book which has done marvelous job in shaping personalities of its followers. It has everything that is needed by people to live a happy life and a peaceful life, and then to reach to paradise in great shape. So these are the verses, Quran says, these are the verses of Quran that makes the meaning mubin, which means it's understandable, it's logical. The whole Quran is very well structured and it's a very eloquent book. Perhaps those who disbelieve will wish that they had been Muslims. This is a kind of regret that people will have on the day of resurrection. Leave them that they may eat and enjoy themselves and be diverted by false hope, for soon they are going to know. So anyone who has faith in his heart, who has a little bit of faith also, he will reflect, his priorities will reflect this faith. And the priorities would be that the key focus will not just be on entertainment, as Quran says over here, they eat and enjoy themselves. It's not just about entertainment, eating and drinking, there's a higher purpose that they need to look at. Now, if these are the only pursuits that people have in their life, these are the only aims, then these are such people who have very little hope from anything from the hereafter, because they're really not working for the hereafter. And we did not destroy any city except that it had a predetermined time for it. No nation will precede its appointed time, nor it can extend it. So every people, every nation, they have a definite term. There's a term for us, there's a term for all the nations that are there. During this term that we have a choice. And when the term is over, then the opportunity for repentance is also taken away. But also Quran says we can neither hasten this term nor they can delay it. So people cannot bring destruction upon themselves, or when that destruction comes, can delay. They say, "O you upon whom the message has been sent down, most surely you are insane. Why do you not bring us angel if you are truthful?" So this is not a kind of a farmaishi program that people need to demand, bring this, bring that, sometimes bring angels, sometimes move mountains. This Quran is not for entertainment. It's not a book of magic. It's everything will happen. Quran says everything will happen at an appointed time. Angels will descend, but then that will be an appointed time, after which there will be no turning back. And we do not send down angels except with truth, then the disbelievers would not be reprieved. Inna nahnu nazzalna zikra wa inna lahu lahafizun. And indeed we have sent down the Quran and we will be its guardian. So Quran actually promised itself. Quran is giving this reassurance, number one, for forever existence and the unaltered state that is there. And we see that in the last 1442 years since this book has been revealed, millions of people have memorized this book. Allah has protected this book up, because this is a book which is a book of guidance. It's a map of guidance. Not a single letter has changed in this book. Even in our modern time, with all the technology and all the hard drives and cloud drives, etc., it's hard for us to find things which have not been tempered with. But Quran is there, and it's a book which has been untempered. If you look at the Quran, there in various museums, like in Birmingham, they have this portion of Quran that is there, and you compare it with the book that we read, it's the same. The oldest Quran that you find, it's in Tunis, and that book also, or part of that book, is exactly the same that the way the Quran that we are reading. So you can imagine a book being there for more than 1440 years, and not a word of this book being changed. And we have certainly sent down messengers before you among many of the ancient people. And no messenger would come to them except that they ridicule him. So this is a consolation for our Prophet ﷺ. This behavior of disbelievers is nothing new. This is how they have been reacting to the earlier prophets and messengers also. And thus do we insert denial into the hearts of the criminal. So one thing I think we need to also keep clear of is to make fun of religion and make fun of things which are related to Islam. They will not believe in it. Same has been the way of such people since the ancient time. And even if we open to them a gate from heavens and they continue to ascend through it, they would say our eyes have only been bewitched. Rather, we are a people affected by magic. So they are not interested in bringing Iman. When a person is not interested in bringing Iman, either he will term whatever a miracle is as a magic, or he's just completely going to deny that this is my eyes have been bewitched, because they have no desire to actually bring Iman. If a person has a desire to bring Iman, then there's no dearth of signs that are around us, inside us and around us. And we have made strongholds in the heavens and have beautified it for the observers. So while this universe, if we take a glance of this universe, how boundless this universe is, particularly if you see this universe in 3 dimensions, you will see how desolate. It's kind of lonely and frightening when you think of yourself being in the universe. But while it is lonely and frightening, it is so beautiful. Marvelous order, the harmony. You see every planet that obeys a law. There's a path for everything. They're following that path. And we have protected it from every accursed devil expelled. This may be referring to the protective shields that are there around the earth, which deflects the meteoroids that enter or try to enter to earth. And as a result, they get burnt up. So there are billions of Shihab-e-Saqib, which we call the piercing flame, or the shooting stars that we talk about. These shooting stars, billions of them actually try and come inside the Earth atmosphere every day. But very few reach onto the Earth's surface, because most of them are either deflected away, and those that do enter inside, they get burnt up in the atmosphere. Except one who steals a hearing and is pursued by a clear burning flame. And we have stretched the earth, and we have stretched the earth and set in it firmly mountains and to grow all kinds of things in due balance. Now it's a balance that Quran is talking about over here. One is you can see the creativity and the ingenuity of this planet Earth. This surely couldn't be by chance. The beauty and the fine balance that are there. Just think about the fine balance of oxygen. Now, oxygen has a ratio close to around 20% in our atmosphere. If it goes up, if it goes below this range a little bit, you will see that life will cease to exist in the way that we see it. Why did the dinosaurs vanish? Because there was too much flora on the earth, and as a result, the oxygen level in the atmosphere increased beyond 20%, and there was this huge explosion which caused all this life to vanish. So how do really plants know how much oxygen to produce? Think about it, who actually regulates this, that we have a level of 20% oxygen at all points in time in the Earth's atmosphere. Also imagine that if coal and oil had not been discovered more than about a couple of centuries ago, all the wood that is there on the planet Earth would have vanished, because people would have just cut all the wood and used it for heating and cooking. And the oxygen level would have dramatically varied. But then just at the right time, when the population was increasing, man suddenly discovers coal, and then after that suddenly man discovers oil. And we have made for you in it means of sustenance, and for those for whose sustenance you are not responsible. Every creation gets its sustenance in due proportion. Millions and millions of species of animals and insects live. Some of them are not the strongest, some of them are not the fittest, they are really the weakest. If you think of termite, which is such a small insect, termite lays about 2 million eggs. If they are left unchecked, they would overwhelm this entire earth. They can multiply so fast. But the eggs of termite become food for more than 500 different insects. More than 500 to 600 insects are actually just, their food is the eggs of termite. So these eggs are for survival and continuity of many, many different species. That's the balance that is there. That's the balance. None of the species is able to overwhelm the earth, but they remain in due check and balance. And we have treasures of everything, and we do not send it down except in a known measure. If the entire risk that is there is to come down to us at one time, it will be impossible to store. Imagine if the amount of rain gets higher. So places which get 10 inches of rain in a year, if they get 15 inches of rain, it creates so much damage to the place. It's no longer a beneficial thing. And as man has progressed, this risk has continued to increase because man has discovered oil, and then first before that coal, and then oil, and then uranium and rare earths, and now man is actually harnessing the energy of wind and the energy of sun. All of this has been there on this earth since man was created, but man is only discovering now. So these are the due measures that are there, and when we need them, man discovers them. Just at the right time when it is needed, these things are discovered. And we have sent down the winds fertilizing and sent down water from the sky and given you drink from it. And you are not the guardians of its stores. So here Quran saying, think about the function of wind. The wind which carries the pollen, and lots of fruits that we have today and we take them for granted, like plums and peach and cherry, etc. They are actually there because the wind is carrying even dates, the wind is carrying the pollen, and it's this pollen, pollen which actually makes sure that the crop is produced. And this pollen is carried by the wind, and wind is there to fertilize. Without wind, there would probably be not many of the fruits that we are having, they won't be existing. And how do the winds, what makes winds generate? It's the rotation of the earth and the difference in temperature which causes the wind. So wind has such an important function just besides carrying cloud and rain in the food cycle that we have. And indeed it is we who give life and cause death, and we are the inheritors. So this is a word of warning and advice that even in death you will not escape him. Allah has a record of everyone, and that record will be opened after the Qiyamah. And our Qiyamah literally is at the time when we leave this world. And certainly we know those of you who have gone before, and surely we know those who shall come later. And surely your Lord will gather them, and indeed he is wise and knowing. And indeed we created man from sounding black mud, fashioned in shape. And we created jinn, and we created, and the jinn we created before from a scorching fire. Now, Quran and science are on common grounds in many areas. With regard to creation of life, Quran and science are on the same thing. The difference between Quran and science is in the theory of evolution. Now, which says that life came into existence automatically. Quran disagrees with that. It says, no, this is the existence of life came because Allah wanted life to be created. This is the word of Allah that life came into existence. It didn't really come out of just dead material. And when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to create human from sounding clay, and when I have proportioned him and breathed into him my spirit, then fall down to him in prostration. Now, Quran is clear that man was first created and then perfected. Quran uses the word over here and says, and when I proportioned him and breathed into him my spirit. So there are two stages that are there. First is the stage of perfection. They gave the finishing touch. It's like you're making a house, right? You make a house, but the house is empty. And now Allah breathes from his own spirit, and then this nur lifts everything up. And this is no ordinary house that we are talking about. This is Allah breathing into from his ruh into man, and man from a creature, from an animal suddenly becomes the ashraful makhluqat. He's no longer the animal. He has a divine quality inside him which is not found in animals. So there are two differences between what Quran is saying and evolution is saying. Quran says life is not by chance. Man has not evolved from a monkey, and it makes sense because also if there was a slow evolutionary process, then there would be many intermediary species, half monkey, half man, or half whatever, and half other creatures also. But we do not see that. Each creature that Allah has created, whether it is fish or fauna or anything, they have their own. Within their own species, they do have evolution. They improve, they change, and we see that also when we look at human beings. So the angel prostrated all of them entirely. So the angels are made out of nur, but despite the fact that they are made out of nur, they have no pride. Because exaltedness is not in the material from which one is created, or where one is born, or in which family one is born, but it is in the obedience. And this obedience is the angelic quality. It's obedience, that they were made from nur, but they were asked to do sajda, and they immediately did that. Except Iblis, he refused to be of those who prostrate. So this must have been quite a scene. If you think about the court of Allah and you have all these angels and the Iblis over there, everyone bowing down, except one who wants to be different. And when this quality comes inside human beings, that they have an urge to stand out in the crowd, they want to be the center of attraction, then it can have serious consequences. قَالَ يَا إِبْلِيسُ مَا لَكَ أَلَّا تَكُونَ مَا السَّاجِدِينَ. And he said, "Oh Iblis, what is the matter with you that you are not of those who prostrate?" Allah is asking why, giving him a chance to think about his disobedience, and so that he can regret. Allah didn't catch him immediately, like Allah doesn't catch us also immediately after we have committed a sin. Allah gives us a chance also, and this chance is for us to turn back to him, to seek forgiveness from him. He said, "Never would I prostrate to a man whom you created out of sounding clay from black mud fashioned and shaped." Now the haste and the arrogance of Iblis, you can see the haste and arrogance. He did not avail the opportunity because of his self-importance and this sense of superiority. He said, which means Allah said, "Then get down off here, for indeed you are expelled." So Allah did not show dislike when Iblis sinned. He didn't. But when he refused to repent and justify his disobedience and persist, then he became what? He became the expelled, the regime. "And indeed upon you is the curse until the day of judgment." He said, which means the Iblis said, "My Lord, then reprieve me until the day when they are raised." So now he's asking for reprieve, not for correcting himself, but in order that he continues to do as he wants to, as he pleases to do. He just continues to follow his whims and to follow his desires. So he said, "Indeed, respite is given to you." So his dua, here Iblis asks Allah, and his dua is immediately accepted, until the appointed time. Iblis said, "My Lord, because you have sent me astray, I will make evil attractive to them on the earth, and I will mislead them all." Always about tossing the blame. And that's the quality of Iblis. To err is human, and to blame it on someone else is more human. Well, it's not more human, it's being more Iblis. It's a quality of Iblis to blame all the ills on someone else. We see that also within people, within societies. We keep blaming everyone else, the agencies, the country, the law, the this and that. But the fact is, we need to actually also sometimes think about our own self. But the influence of shaitan, I think that's where we need to focus on. The influence of shaitan is on our body. It's on our nafs. Because our nafs has these earthy desires. And what shaitan can do is he can make these sins look very attractive. Beautiful packaging of sin. But there is no peace in any sin, except your purified servants from among them. So the protection is for those people who have fear of Allah, who have taqwa of Allah, who have conscience of Allah. He said, "This is a path that leads straight to me. Indeed, as regards my servant, you have no authority over them, except those who follow you of the deviators." So those who intentionally want to leave this straight road, the Sirat-e-Mustaqim, the path that leads towards Allah, obviously then it's their call that they have made. And indeed, hell is promised place for all of them. It has 7 gates. For each gate is an appointed portion for them. 7 gates. It could mean several gates, it could mean 700, but 7 may also refer to the 7 major sins, which is shirk, which is breaking the bond of ties, which is blood ties that are there. It's also adultery, it's false evidence, giving false evidence against someone else. It's rebellion, it's oppression, it's leaving Islam, becoming a murtad. So these are the 7 major sins that are defined. So maybe for each one of them is a gate. Indeed, the righteous will be in the midst of gardens and springs. So you can see the peace surrounding. It's like we go on vacation. What's the place that we'd like to go to vacation? A place which has nice gardens, some springs, some water flowing. And that's the kind of an idea that is there in paradise. Having been told, enter in it in peace, safe and secure. And we will remove whatever little grudge is there in their hearts, so that they will be brothers, facing each other on raised couches. So if we are surrounded, by the best of the best, which means gardens and rivers and everything, but if there is irritation inside us, if we are angry for any reason, if we have ill feeling, if we are envious of people, then the surrounding may be very beautiful, but it clearly takes away the pleasure. Because we have, human beings have this tendency, when you are angry, you just don't enjoy, even if it's a nice vacation. So when people get angry in vacation, they really destroy it. So that's the feeling over here, that once people reach to paradise, even little grudges that are there in their hearts, Allah will remove them. No fatigue will touch them in it, nor will they be removed from it. So like every vacation has a flip side, the tiredness, the check-ins and the check-outs and the good things will always end. But that's not going to be there in paradise, because no fatigue, no tiredness would be there. Inform my servant that it is I who am the forgiving, the merciful, and that it is my punishment which is the painful punishment. Now the choice is with us. Choice is with us to select the right course. And inform them about our guest of Ibrahim, now the story of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hazrat Lut alayhi salam, when they entered his presence and said, peace. And Ibrahim said, indeed we are fearful of you. The angel said, fear not. Indeed we give you a good tiding of a knowledgeable boy. He said, do you give me good news, although old age has come upon me? Of what good news are you giving me? They said, we are giving you the good tidings in truth, so do not be of the despairing. He said, and who despairs of mercy of his Lord except the one who goes astray? Ibrahim said, then what is your business here, O messengers? They said, indeed we have been sent to the sinful people, except the family of Lut, surely we will save them all. Except his wife, we have ordained that she is of those who remain behind. And when the messengers came to the family of Lut, he said, which means Hazrat Lut alayhi salam said, indeed you are unfamiliar people. Now this is a dangerous country, especially Sodom and Amorah, the places where the people of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam lived. They were thugs and brigands and murderers, and it was a very kind of a wild west that we think of, and hence there was a fear. Who are these strangers? They didn't really look like from the same town. They said, no, we have come to you with that about which they were disputing, and we have come to you with a definite decision, and surely we are the truthful. So set out with your family during the portion of the night and follow behind them, and let not anyone among you look back, and continue on to where you are commanded. So it's an instruction given to Hazrat Lut alayhi salam, in the midst of the night, take your family and just leave this town and do not look back, and you should be among the end to make sure everyone has gone before you. And instruction given to them, this is not a time to watch the fireworks as they start, or to shed the tears of regret. And we conveyed to him the decree of that matter, that the roots of those shall be cut off in the morning. And the people of the city came rejoicing. This is the lowest depth of immorality that you can see in this entire community. The entire community had lost their sense of kind of decency. So Hazrat Lut said, surely these are my guests, so do not shame me, and fear Allah and do not disgrace me. They said, have we not forbidden you from protecting the whole world? And he said, these are my daughters, if you are to do something. Daughters means he's really pointing to the daughters of the town, pointing out to the natural relationship. By your life, indeed they were wandering blindly in their intoxication. So the shriek seized them at sunrise, and we turned the city upside down and rained upon them stones of baked clay. Surely in that are signs for the believers, and surely those cities are situated on the established road. Indeed, in this is a sign for the believers. And the dwellers of Aika were also wrongdoers. The people of the wood, they were probably the ancient names of people of Tabuk. Some people who lived in wood. We don't know who was a messenger sent to them. The Quran didn't really say that. So we afflicted retribution on them, and surely both cities are on the highway clearly visible. And certainly did the dwellers of Hijr deny the messenger. The Hijr again, which means the rock, and that's how this surah is also named. This is the capital of the city of Samud, and this is there in northwest of Medina. For those of you who ever go to Medina, it's quite a place to go and look at these huge mountain palaces and graveyards that have been crafted out of complete mountains. And we gave them our signs, but they kept turning away from them. And they used to carve from mountains houses feeling secure, but the shriek seized them in early morning. So what they used to earn did not avail them. And we have not created the heavens and the earth, and that between them except in truth, and indeed the hour is coming, so overlook them with gracious forgiveness. Message over here is that the universe is based on truth. Ultimately, truth will prevail. Falsehood has a short life. Falsehood would live, but falsehood also goes away very quickly. Have courage, have confidence, everything will end. Like everything ends, from a bubble that you see today to the whole galaxies that we are witnessing in this whole universe. Everything has a life. Bubble will go away in an instant, in the wink of an eye, and galaxies take some time, but they all vanish at some point in time. Now, the Quran also says, so overlook them with gracious forgiveness. Ignore beautifully. Don't make people feel lonely in your eyes. This is teaching us the art of preaching to people. Don't slam shut the door on somebody's face, because that's no way in which you will be able to invite people to this religion. So be gracious, be gentle, be forgiving. Surely your Lord is the creator of all things, and we have certainly given you the 7 often repeated verses and the glorious Quran. Now, according to majority of scholars, majority of people who are authority on Quran, including some of the earliest companions, they understood the 7 repeated verses to be Surah Fatiha, because that has 7 verses, and it's also called the essence of the divine writ. It's a prayer, and we recite it every time when we say our salat. And do not extend your eyes towards that which we have given to different people, and do not grieve for them, and be gentle and humble to the believers. Someone who has been given the knowledge of Quran, someone who has been given the knowledge of faith and Islam, he should not have an excessive desire for this dunya. People must treasure the knowledge of Quran that they have over all the worldly possessions. They may have lots of worldly possessions, but the treasure of the knowledge of Quran, it should be above that. This is something that they really need to protect. Only if we treasure our knowledge of Quran, we will be able to protect it and make sure it continues to grow. If we don't, it will be wasted away. And that's the message that comes over here. Do not extend your eyes towards that which we have given to different people. People may be a lot richer than us. We'll never reach to that level. It doesn't matter. This should not grieve people. And say, indeed, I am a clear warner, such as we send down on those who divided. And we split and have split the scripture in bits and pieces, which means, talking about the Jews and the Christian, of how they actually split their own books, which is the Torah and the Injil, believing in part of it and rejecting another part of it. So by your Lord, we will surely question them all about what they used to do. Then proclaim what you are commanded and turn away from the polytheist. Surely we are sufficient for you against those who mock. Those who set another God along with Allah, so soon they are going to know. And we know that your heart is distressed by what they say, so celebrate the praise of your Rabb, and be like those, and be of those who prostrate to him. So the last ayah of Surah Al-Hijr, وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِكَ الْيَقِينَ, and worship your Lord until the inevitable comes. This yaqeen that's used over here, yatikal yaqeen. Al-yaqeen is a term that Quran uses for death. That death, until death comes, this is going to be your lifelong mission. Worship your Lord until your death comes. This too shall end, and this should be there. This should be the last of the deeds that you do in this mortal world. Now we're going to begin with Surah Nahl, which means bee, and we're going to do some of the ayahs. This is again a Makkan surah. It was revealed onto our Prophet ﷺ among the last of his days in Makkah, before he migrated from Makkah to Medina. So let's just begin with this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Ata amrullahi fala tastajilu, subhanahu wa ta'ala amma yushrikun. And the commandment of Allah has come, so do not seek to hasten it. Exalted is He, high above what they associate with Him. He sends down angels with the ruh by His command, upon whom He wills of his servant, telling them, warn that there is no God except me, so fear me. So the word use over here, he sends down the ruh by his command, the ruh in context of sending down the revelations, being with Hazrat Jibreel. Hazrat Jibreel, laqab of Hazrat Jibreel is Ruh al-Amin also. Like ruh is life. As when the ruh leaves our body, then death occurs. So ruh is life, and so are the revelations, because revelations also give life to our soul, to our ruh. This is the food for our ruh. And he has created the heavens and the earth with truth. High be he, exalted above all that they associate. He created human beings from a sperm, and behold, the same man becomes an open disputer. Think about your humble origin. How insignificant you were a few years ago. And this great ability to be able to articulate the tremendous, the way people speak and they become open disputers, it has tremendous accountability. The misuse of the speech has devastating consequences. But just think what you are talking before you think about your humble origin, before you start to actually become a disputer. And he has created cattle for you, and from them you derive warmth and numerous benefits, and from them you eat. And for you in them is an enjoyment of beauty when you bring them in the evening, and when you send them out to graze, and they carry your loads to a land you could not have reached except with difficulty to yourself. Indeed, your Lord is kind and merciful. And he has created horses, mules, and donkey for you to ride as adornment, and he created that which you do not know. And upon Allah is to show you the right way, and among the various paths some are crooked, and if he willed, he could have guided you all. So like domesticated animals, they have to be led, they need a guide. No owner wants the flock to go astray and perish. Similarly, Allah, when he created Ashraful Makhlukat, he is also a guide. He leads us to paradise. He tells us which is the way to paradise. We cannot, by our own akal, by our own thinking, by our own worldly knowledge, get to understand or know the way to the paradise. It's only through the word of Allah. It's only through the revelations that we know what is the straight path that leads to paradise. It is he who sends down rain from the sky, from it you drink, and from it grows foliage, from which you feed your cattle. He causes to grow from it the crops of olive and date palm and grapevines and all the fruits. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who reflect. Think, same water, same soil, so much variety, so much color, so much flavors of fruits that we have. And he has subjugated for you the night and day, and the sun and the moon, and the stars are subservient by his command. Surely in that are signs for people who understand. Everything is serving man. Everything is serving man. No other creation of Allah is rebellious or defiant. They have a purpose, they do what they are told to do. And whatever he has created for you on the earth, having varying colors, and surely in that are signs for a people who are mindful. Look how colorful this world is. What a beautiful world. Vivid, bright, lively. So many colors, so many hues. And it is he who subjugated the sea for you to eat from it fresh meat, and to bring out ornaments which you wear. And you see the ship slicing through it, that it may seek his bounties. And perhaps you will be grateful. So much fresh food in the seas, well preserved, balanced amount of salt and minerals in the water, maintaining its pH for supporting life. A completely different world from the world that we are living in. And he has placed mountains on the earth, lest it shudders with you, and made rivers and road, that you may be guided. Wa alamat wa bin najmi hum yahtadun. And the landmarks, and by the star they are guided. And then he creates like one, and then is he who creates like one who does not create. So will you not be reminded? Who knows our needs? Who knows our requirements? Who knows our weaknesses better than the one who actually created? So Allah reminds us that is he who creates one like who does not create? Which deity can anyone claim creates anything? And if you should count the favors of Allah, you will not count them all. Surely Allah is forgiving and merciful. And Allah knows what you conceal and what you declare. So in our hearts, everyone knows that there is a creator. This is not by chance, but people don't acknowledge it because they just don't want to be obedient to the Creator. And those they call other than Allah create nothing, and they themselves are created. Shirk has many faces, including worship of pious people, but none can create anything. They are dead, not alive, and they do not know when they will be raised again. Since worship of dead has been there, like we see in people going to the mazar and worshipping dead people, Quran says, look, they can't even help themselves. They cannot even help if a fly comes and sits on the grave, the dead cannot force that fly to fly away. That's the level of their dependence. That's the level that they, of what they have, what they can. If they cannot make a fly go away from their grave, what they can give to you. And Quran says they even don't know when they are going to be raised up. Your God is one God. As for those who do not believe in the hereafter, their hearts are defined and they are ignorant. So Quran uses this word munkar, and munkar, if you translate, it actually means someone who is defined. So when hearts become void of the love of Allah, a vacuum is created in that heart. And then because of this vacuum, what fills this heart is with jealousy, with anger, with pride, with hypocrisy. These are the things that enter into our hearts. So that's the important thing. As long as the love of Allah is there, our hearts will not have, or will have less space for all these negative traits. Now judge yourself. Imagine yourself that we are someone who is looking after and fulfilling needs of someone. Imagine someone you are giving all the possessions to him. You are giving everything that he needs, making his life most comfortable. And he continues to ignore you, and he does not even acknowledge. He's not even willing to listen to our name. Instead of not being willing to listen to our name, instead of that, he mocks and ridicules us. How would we feel? How would we feel? And that is why Allah does not love the arrogant. Because Allah has given everything to us. For those people who are not thankful to Him, it's His mercy and it is His great benevolence and blessing that He doesn't take people to account. If as a human being, we would have actually stopped the risk of everyone if people had started to mock and ridicule us. No doubt, Allah knows what they conceal and what they reveal. Surely He does not love the arrogant. And it's this arrogance that shouldn't be there in anyone's heart. And when it is said to them, what has your Lord sent down? They say, tales of the ancient people. Then they may bear their own burden in full on the day of judgment, and some of the burden of those whom they misguide without knowledge. Remember, evil is what they bear. Now the burden of their own and the burden of those people who misguide, so they are just adding on to their burden. One, they are themselves misguided, and because of them other people get misguided, so they carry double or maybe triple, or I don't know how many times burden, how many people misguide. Those before them plotted, but Allah struck at their foundation, so the roof fell down upon them from above, and the punishment came to them from where they did not even imagine. There is no place to hide. The home is a place where we feel protected, but imagine an azab which actually destroys the foundation of the home. Now there will be no peace. When we enter to that home, we don't know when that roof is going to fall down. There will be no tranquility in such a house. And that's what Allah says. He can strike at the very foundation, so the roof fall down on them from above. And that's the punishment that they couldn't even imagine. Then on the day of resurrection, He will disgrace them and say, where are my partners for whose sake you opposed my guidance? Those who were given knowledge will say, surely today is the disgrace and evil has befallen on the disbelievers. Those whom the angel caused to die while they have wronged themselves, and they will offer submission, saying, we did nothing wrong. Why not? Surely Allah knows well what you used to do. So enter the gates of hell to abide eternally in it. How wretched is the lodging of the arrogant. Now this ayat, these two ayahs are actually an indication of the at the time of death, when soul is being taken, the suffering that people will have at that time, the torment that they have, and or even in barzakh also, some people will enjoy peace, others will not enjoy peace. And it will be said to those who feared Allah, what has your Lord sent down? And they will say, that which is good. For those who do good in this world is good, and the home of the hereafter is better, and how excellent is the abode of the righteous. So your journey is your destination. If people journey with the Pharaoh, then they will not end up with Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. In this world, also there is, if there is a good for righteousness, we have this very wrong impression that if we become righteous, if we come onto Islam on the straight path, we have this feeling that coming into the fold of Islam will result in pain and suffering and a miserable life. I don't think that's necessarily true. Gardens of eternity, which they will enter, beneath which rivers flow, and they will have in it whatever they wish. Thus Allah gives reward to the God-fearing. The one whom the angels take to death, being pure and good, angels will say, peace upon you, enter paradise for what you used to earn. They are awaiting that the angels come down on them, or comes a commandment of your Lord. Similar was the reaction of those who were before them, and Allah did not wrong them, but they had been wronging themselves. So the evil of what they did overtook them, and they were surrounded by the very thing that they used to ridicule. The polytheists say, if Allah had willed, we would not have worshipped anything other than Him, neither we nor our forefathers, nor would we have forbidden anything without order from Him. Similar was the reaction of those before them. Therefore the messenger's duty is just to convey the message clearly. Nothing happens without the approval of Allah. Hence, whatever people do, it is with the permission of Allah. But sin is done with the permission of Allah, but it doesn't have the approval of Allah. It doesn't have the raza of Allah. So permission and approval, these are two things. These are two separate things. They are two separate matters altogether. Man has been given freedom. He also has this free intention, and he wants to put in his effort, and that's what he's going to be judged about, how he used this limited freedom that he has. And we certainly raised in every nation a messenger saying, worship Allah and shun false gods. And among them were those whom Allah guided, and among them were those upon whom the error was due, which means error was established. So travel through the earth and see how was the end of the deniers. Allah makes it very clear what He likes and what He dislikes, and now it's our freedom. We need to pick up whether we pick up things that Allah likes or whether we pick up things Allah dislikes. That's the freedom of choice that we have. And if you desire for their guidance, indeed Allah does not guide those whom He leads astray, and for them there are no helpers. So Quran says Allah guides to Himself those who turn to Him. So we need to do the first part, which is turning to Him, and then Allah will guide us to Him. And they swear by Allah their strongest oath that Allah will not resurrect those who die. Why not? It is a promise, it is a true promise binding upon Him, but most people do not know. So that He will make clear to them about that which they differ, and so those who have disbelieved may know that they are indeed liars. For anything which we intend, it is only that we say to it, be, and it comes to be. And those who leave their homes for the cause of Allah, after they had been wrong, we will surely give them good abode in this world, but the reward for the hereafter is greater if only they could know. Those who are patient and put their trust on their Lord. So this is a comfort for Muslims to bear all the difficulties. Be patient and put your trust on your Rabb. And we did not send before you except men upon whom we revealed our message. So ask people of the reminder if you do not know. So this is a message to the people of Makkah, the kuffar, that this message is not a new message. It has come on previous generations. Look and ask people who have this book, which means referring to the Christians and to the Jews. So the last ayah of this evening. بالبينات والزبر وأنزلنا إليك الذكر لتبين للناس ما نزل إليهم ولعلهم يتفكرون. And we sent with clear signs and scripture, and we revealed to you the reminder that you may make clear to people what we have sent down to them so that they may reflect. So what Quran says is that, look, this book is a reminder. There's nothing new that is there. These things are known to us. Quran is just reminding us. And Allah makes it very clear, make clear to people what He has sent down to them so that they may reflect. Now, the reflection part, people need to do. Allah will not force people to reflect. Allah will just remind us of many signs that are there around us in this universe, in the creation of plants and everything that Allah has created on this earth. There are some reminders. People need to think about it and reflect. Now, if people don't choose to reflect, then that's a different matter. And the duty of the Messenger, the duty of our Prophet ﷺ is only to make plain and explain the teachings of the book, remove doubts about it and remove objections about it. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim.